Welcome to another podcast episode. This is Atomic Cricket Podcast. Your host for this week, Chirunandan Srinath. I'm joined with Vijay Lokapally sir, senior sports journalist, and my friend Maitreya. Today we have a very special guest with us. His name is Krishna Bhaskar Pillai. He has played for Delhi a lot of years ago and he has averaged 53. Unluckily, he couldn't get into the Indian team, but we're going to ask a lot about his journey. But before that, we're going to preview the India-England Test series. So first of all, let us welcome Bhaskar Pillai, sir. It's pleasure to have you on this show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Same here.
And Vijay, sir, how has been cricket this week?
Well, more than cricket, I think Olympics is taking all the news, and it's very pleasant weather. I'm sure Bhasi, it must be raining in your place also. Bhaskar lives in Gurgaon. I live in Delhi, and we haven't met for 2 years.
Absolutely right, Vijay. Though I had invited you for dinner once and you opted out, decided to spend the evening with Bhavi.
Yes.
So I
yes.
took out that opportunity.
We'll meet very soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bhasi, let me introduce these my very, very young friends on this Happy Friendship Day. Chiru and Maitreya. They are both in Andhra Pradesh. 15-year-old both. They have this fantastic podcast and show, and our man behind the show is Akash, who does all the recording and editing. Again, he's a 15-year-old. They are all together, and it's been a very wonderful experience for me, Basi, to be connected with these young people.
I think it's a great opportunity. I think 15-year-olds taking up such a big jumping into the main league, and I'm sure your understudy, they would it's a long journey ahead for them, and they would do wonderfully well.
Yes. Sometimes I am their understudy. Yes, Chiru, carry on.
How are you? Hope you're staying safe. And what is being cricket? Olympics. Yes, Vijay sir has talked about Olympics. How have you been following Olympics?
Yes, I have been following the Olympics, and I've been following it because cricket matches were not there recently. And I'm very interested also. I got interested this year. I wasn't that interested in the 2016 because I don't know much then, but now I've been very interested and I'm eager to see who wins the matches. So I have been following Olympics.
So very good. And we're going to talk about England Test series, right? That's what this show is about. And Vijay sir, if I ask you, let's get started with Bhaskar sir. So, England and India, they've the biggest rivalries. I mean, not the biggest rivalries, but a main rivalry. India have gone to England 16 times. They have only won 3 times. They have drawn one series, but most of the test series they have lost. But how will this test series be for India? The last time when India went in 2018, they did lose the match, but we found a talent in Rishabh Pant, and Virat Kohli was excellent. How is this test series going to be for India?
I think playing in England, the English overcast conditions always been tough. The swing and the lateral movement that happens there in England is always as a batsman, world over, nobody likes to play swing bowling, to be honest. Indians at one point of time earlier, we were told that we were susceptible to bounce and short stuff. But then over the years, we worked hard on that. We really worked on. So pace doesn't really bother us. It's the swing, it's the lateral movement that really bothers some of the top batsmen in the world. England happens to be the toughest series. Australia, yes, along with South Africa, these bouncy tracks always pose a problem for the batsmen, especially the top order. But then what has happened, what we've seen is that the pitches in Australia or South Africa, they've got slower and slower. And it's more or less, it's a batsman's paradise. But in England, with the overcast conditions, these English bowlers know, especially Anderson, they know where to pitch the ball. The line, they're so immaculate with their line and length. So they create a lot of problems. What happened in the last test match against in the World Series finals against New Zealand. See, we weren't prepared at all. Whatever practice games that we had was the IPL that was happening in India, whereas New Zealand out there were already having a series, and they did so well against the Englishmen that their confidence was very, very high, and that's why. See, we could not even survive a full day. We couldn't survive the 90 overs in a day, and we ended up after the a couple of hours were lost to the rain, even though we were not able to save the test match. So this is not going to be anything different, because we've seen that even a top-class player like Virat Kohli has struggled in England. Though the last series, though he did get some runs, but then we all know how he was a bunny for Anderson. So I think it's not going to be any easy for Indian batsmen. Especially, we also have to see that barring a few, maybe Rohit, maybe a little bit of Rane and Virat, the others are basically newcomers. So this is going to be a very acid test for the English for the Indian batsmen.
So, Vijay sir, let me come to you for this. I mean, how important this test series is for Pujara, right? He has been the front runner for Indian test team for over the years, but now you see his record from 2019 is averaging less than, I don't know his batting average, but it's not good. I mean, so Pujara, this test series is going to be a make or break for him. So, do you include him in the first 11?
I'll definitely include him in the first 11. It's very unfortunate that a batsman like Pujara, who only plays Test cricket, is put under pressure even before the first ball is bowled. If you remember, he performed exceedingly well in Australia and in the home series against England. So, for me, he is the number one choice. Of course, I mean, Virat will be there, and Ajinkya Rahane, he's the vice captain. But if you have to pick one batsman to play the series and do well, it will be Pujara. And people talk about strike rate. So I want Bhaskar to add here. Bhaskar, what is this thing about strike rate in a test match? And do you think it is justified, or maybe not justified? Is it hard for Pujara to always keep proving himself?
Rightly so. See, the only criticism that Pujara, Pujara's batting goes, as far as it goes, is the slowness, the amount of runs that he accumulates. It's a very slow pace. So what happens is sometimes, you need to sometimes you need to play your shots. There has to be a counter attack on the bowler. So put him in some kind of pressure. But what happens is here it's a patient waiting game where he's trying to tire out the bowler, which I think in England will be very difficult to do, because because of the weather, the bowlers don't get tired that much. Two, in English conditions, as the ball gets older, it starts swinging more and more. So I think I think a bit of caution along with a little bit of aggression is also required. You can't just carry on, plot and play for 20-25 hours and probably get 20 on the board. So what happens is, earlier when we had openers like Sehwag, or when you had players like Dravid or Saurabh or Sachin, they would counter attack. So they used to play in a manner where they would put the bowler under pressure. But here what happens when you're bogged down, or when you start playing just defending yourself and trying to save your wicket, the bowler is always on top. And in conditions like in England, where it's probably one ball game, you err in once and then that's it. Because here you can't drive on the up because the ball is moving so much. You need to play the horizontal shots, especially the square cuts and the pulls and the hooks, which I think Pujara does not do. He has that. He's got abundance patience. There's nothing wrong with his technique, but sometimes what happens is he's trying to tire out the bowler. But then there's also the fact that there are stroke players who are coming in after him. So they struggle because by that time the bowlers are on top of you. So I think a little bit of, it's not that he doesn't know how to play strokes. He does, but I think he's too cautious. I think it's better to play some of the square cuts and the flicks and which he has in his repertoire. And I think a little bit of aggression needs to be shown. Shot selection needs to be very, very precise, especially when you're playing in England.
Correct, Basi. I agree with you, and I'll get my young friend Maitreya. If you can share some thoughts. Do you like Pujara?
Yes, sir.
What is it you like about him?
From so many years, I have been watching Pujara, so I like the way he bats. But uh, recently, if you observe, I feel he has been batting very slowly. Means uh, there's a good thing to sometimes when we need a draw, he can take dot balls and not hit many runs. But his technique has become like that from the last few years. He's been playing very slowly and. Uh, uh, Not than the usual way he used to play has been very slow. So I feel he just needs to change that. And even if he plays dot balls, I feel he should hit the right ball for four, so that or boundaries. So he should start hitting more boundaries also. So even if he takes dot balls with the boundaries, he can cover up. So eventually, no one can criticize him or anything. So as a test player, I really like him, and he has did so many runs for India. And I really want to see how he does in the England series.
Thank you, Maitreya. But Bhasi, I think the problem lies with his not able to rotate the strike. I mean, that's what the team management feels, that he's not able to rotate the strike. But that's fine. I mean, Pujara, we all know he will try and come back. But what do you think is going to be India's strength this summer? If we call, I mean, if we can say India will have an upper hand, I feel India will have an upper hand. So, what are your views?
Especially, see, there's a big blow to England when now that Stokes is not available for them. So
Yeah.
that'd be that is a major worry for the Englishmen, because Stokes, as we all know, is one of the top all-rounders that we have in the world today, and he has been doing consistently well for the last 2-3 years now, and he would have been a thorn in flesh. But then, unfortunate due to his personal reasons, he's not going to be available for the series. Yes, you're right. India definitely looks stronger, but then also we've got to understand that this is a very inexperienced side. It's not a very we don't have the players the class of Sachin or Dravid. This rock solid that we used to talk about, the wall, or even Lakshman, who was a great stroke player. This is a team which has been built up, which has been groomed for the future, and there is a lot of inexperience in the Indian side. But at the same time, we also have seasoned campaigners like Virat, Rahane, Pujara, rightly so. I think Pujara would be the backbone here. I think if he finds his form and he gets us some good runs, I think that'll be a good sign for the rest of the players to come after him and flourish. But then, yes, this I think English this tour of England is always good for fast bowlers, and which we have. So it may not be a very high scoring test series, because Indian bowlers are also probably clocking about 140 plus. All 5 of them have been clocking 140 plus, and also we all know about how good English bowlers are in their home conditions. So this would be a battle of to see how our fielders sort of complement our bowling. They help us out taking some stunning catches, and that will be a major difference. That will help. Plus also that Virat will have to has to come back into form, and he has to lead from the front. Now, a lot will depend on even the opening. If we are able to survive the opening spell of Anderson, I think we have a good chance. But I think I wouldn't say that it will be 60-40, but I would say it'll be a 50-50, because England are also they are also a new side, a young side. So it'll be a battle of wits, if I could put it that way. Who is mentally strong and is able to adapt to those English conditions will probably survive better.
Yes, Chiru.
Yeah, yes. So I want to ask, the bowlers, right? Jasprit Bumrah. We didn't see we didn't see the best of him in the WTC final. He went wicketless, and now does he come back to this 11 in this? Yes, he definitely comes back, but is he going to strike hard again? I mean, have a comeback and take wickets like he usually does. And Shami, he was unlucky in the 2018 tour. There are a lot of tails that we can't definitely mention it here, because he was unlucky. He couldn't get that edges perfectly, and all those things happened. And Shami was did he his luck didn't favor him much in this WTC final, but he did come back and take some wickets in the first innings. So sir, how is the pace attack going to look like?
Yes, Vasi, it's for you.
Yeah. Oh, it's for me, is it? Okay. I think, see, you can't write off Bumrah. It was, after all, it was just one test match where he went wicketless. He didn't. What was seen was that he was not able to seam the ball. That was a cause of worry. The way Shami was able to dart the ball around, something which we missed seeing in Bumrah's bowling. That could be, I mean, again, as I said, it's just one of those tests where he could have always come back into form. If he had maybe this series, we might see a different Bumrah from what we saw in the last test against New Zealand. As I said, India has a formidable bowling attack. They clock about 140 plus. Ishant, with all his 100 test matches experience, has been bowling exceedingly well. But then he needs to get support from the other end. When you bowl at the right areas and bowl in tandem, that is where you create pressure on the opposition. Now, one end, if suppose one of them has an off day and is not able to put pressure on the batsman, no matter how good Shami bowls or how good Ishant bowls or even Bumrah bowls, it's not going to make a difference. I think each one of them has to play their role for what they've been picked for. I think some of the other guys, what we saw in Australia when we had a depleted side, they went on to beat, without Virat Kohli, went on to beat the formidable Australian side. So I think the bench that we saw there, Shardul Thakur's and even the others, they were, they showed that they have the class in them. They are equipped to survive in that big league. So I think, yes, overall, it'll be, we'll have to wait and watch and see how Bumrah performs. And I'm sure it was just one of those test matches, and he happens to be our main strike bowler, to be honest, and he will come good.
Yeah. And Bhasi, I remember, we have watched how Rishabh Pant has evolved. And I remember the first season when he made an impact. You were the coach and you have worked very closely with him. And he scored a 100, if you remember, in Mumbai, I think, in that season. So do you firmly believe, I firmly believe that this will be a big series for him. And do you think he is the X factor for Indian cricket? As he played in Australia, the way he played in India, and now there are a lot of expectations from him in England.
True. I think what is required of Rishabh Pant is the consistency. Now, after getting 100 in Australia and even in England, see, that was the only 100 that we saw. Of course, Australia, he went on to get that match-winning 90s. Was it one of the other test matches? But then, what we require from him is he's a batsman. He's a free-flowing batsman. He's not a one who's going to be hanging around. If he survives that half an hour, 40 minutes, the scoreboard is bound to go up. You see, it's going to keep ticking. But the point is, the only thing that he needs to do is, if I had seen what I saw in the New Zealand Test match, see, there was so much of the way he was playing, he was literally struggling. Why? The only reason was that he had just come back from IPL. So everything was a push for him. So in England, you can't do it on the rights. Now that you got to be very, very careful. You need to play very late and very close to your body. Now that's something which only people like, if you see earlier Jimmy Pa or Sunil Gavaskar or the Venksakas, they would play so late. They would wait for the ball to come to you, and they wouldn't sort of reach for the ball. You can't do that in England. So which suddenly I could see that all that impact of the IPL, the games, that 5, 6, 7 games that he played, everything was a push, like a one day or a T20. You can't do that in England. I'm sure there are pundits there who's going to be working with him. They would have guided him. They would have told him, definitely. We have a support staff which is probably doing the best. And they would probably have guided him and told him to play a little late and not to push the ball. Definitely, the number that he comes, it's like Gilchrist, having a kind of an impact player. This guy is definitely an impact player. If he survives, and he stays for a longer duration, I think it's good, and he's bound to get runs for us. But the only thing is shot selection. He needs to be a little patient. Can't just hit his way out. At the same time, you need to pick the right ball to hit. And at the same time, yes, he's a wonderful prospect. He's done well in the short career that we have seen, and definitely in the years to come, he'll be our mainstay. I hope he from here he only improves his stroke play, because we know strokes he has all the strokes in his repertoire, and he can play some of the best innings, unbelievable innings that he's known to play. I've seen that happening in the domestic, virtually from a no match situation, from a no situation, he brings it to a winning situation. So that way, I'm sure he's still very young. All I can see is that if he stays focused, there's a big future for him.
So now we're going to talk about the 11. I mean, we're going to ask each one of us here who's sitting to make 11. I mean, it won't be straight away you make 11 and announce it. It'd be like we one by one we pick the openers, then we pick the top order. It's going to be like that. So let me come to Maitreya first. He's been sitting off for so much time. So Maitreya, who are your openers? Your two openers?
I would choose Rohit Sharma and Prithvi Shaw.
Okay. Vijay sir, is there any specific reason, do you want someone like KL Rahul to open or some Mayank Agarwal? Because Prithvi Shaw, we do not know if he's coming. I mean, there is some special permission for him that is going from Sri Lanka to here, but will he come by first test and, the news that is going on?
I don't know if it will be proper to have Prithvi Shaw opening, because he's mainly played white ball cricket. And here you have Mayank Agarwal as the original choice. You have Abhimanyu. He's already there. Ishwaran, he was their first choice. So it will send the wrong signal. I mean, it will break, impact Abhimanyu's confidence also if he's not picked. And if Prithvi Shaw is picked ahead of him, my openers would definitely be Rohit Sharma, and I'll prefer Mayank Agarwal because he has the experience. So I don't know. Yeah, Bhasi, you can take your pick.
I think you rightly said, Mayank has done well in the past. So he's basically he's an opener. He's not a stopgap kind of an opener. You see, like where you try. As you rightly said, Prithvi Shaw is more what we've seen. He struggled with the red ball, with the red cherry. He's done well with the white ball cricket, but even there also there has been a technical flaw, if you could say it, for an opener. You see Prithvi Shaw batting, but I think he's worked on it. He's done well in Sri Lanka, but then he's. If I get a choice, I'll probably go with Mayank Agarwal. So my openers would be probably after, if not Mayank, then probably KL Rahul. Ishwaran is a great prospect. Abhimanyu. But then he struggled last season in the domestic season. But then he's a very good prospect, a brilliant fielder. So I think it will be rightly so that we could groom him in the right fashion, the right manner. He's technically correct, very correct, and probably it'd be nice to see how Mayank or KL Rahul does. Then probably, if need be, if required, probably play this guy Abhimanyu. But I think it'd be nice to sort of groom him, not at least in the first test match. We'll probably go in with Agarwal, Mayank.
Yeah, for me, I would pick Rohit Sharma, obviously, and the second opener, I'm looking at Mayank Agarwal because he's been excellent. So let me come back to Maitreya again. Who's your top order pick? I mean, at 3 and at 4, who are you going to take? I mean, at 3, it has to be someone, and at 4, it has to be Virat Kohli. So your choice.
Yeah, I would choose Pujara at 3 and Virat Kohli at 4.
That was very easy, Chiro. You have asked a very easy question to Maitreya. I want to ask him, why not KL Rahul, Maitreya? Why don't you bring in KL Rahul for Pujara? If I insist.
I thought I would bring him at the middle order, like number 5 or something, because we think Rahane is still unfit, they're telling. So if Rahane doesn't play, we can bring KL Rahul. Or if he plays also, I feel KL Rahul can be in the middle order there. So that's what I felt.
Yeah.
So
yes, Chiru.
Yes, so KL Rahul, he's an opener basically. He can open, he can play in the middle order. So he told that he's been working on his techniques and all those kind of things after he was dropped in 2019 Test side. So we can expect him to come back. But Bhaskar sir, KL Rahul, it will be a huge series for him. It will be an important series for him if he wants to join back the Test side, and also it will also give him. I mean, there is a lot of responsibility on him now because Shubman Gill is injured now. There is a lot of dependence on him because Shubman Gill is a youngster, but KL Rahul, if he wants to come back, this series is very important for him. But how do you see it? KL Rahul, can he manage all those technical faults and all those things?
See, to be honest, first of all, the composition of the 11 that's going to be coming out. Virat has a major problem here because we don't have too many all-rounders in our team, right? So it has to be seen whether we go in with 5 bowlers or we go in with 4 bowlers. Now, India, most of the time we normally play, with 4 bowlers, right? You got 5 batsmen and a keeper 6, and in England you might go with. So it all depends on how is he going with 5 bowlers, 5 main bowlers, or is he going with 4 bowlers? The only all-rounder that we could say we have is Ashwin. Right. So if you take Ashwin and then the 4 fast bowlers, so that makes it 5. But then Rishabh coming at number 6, you only left with five main players. Right. So you can decide, say Rohit and say Mayank Agarwal. Then you have Pujara. As I said, discussion was between either Pujara or KL Rahul. But I think Pujara's defense and KL Rahul not playing in the last 3-4 series in the test match format. So I think they would probably go in with Pujara. 3-4 would be Virat, of course. Then probably the choice is between Rahane. If Rahane is injured, then KL Rahul automatically comes into the 11. Otherwise, it's going to be Rahane as being the vice captain. So he finds his place automatically. So these are the 5 plus Rishabh becomes 6, and then your Ashwin and the remaining 4 bowlers. Now the problem is that Hardik Pandya was a good find, as an all-rounder, and we were looking forward to him serving us for a longer time, maybe in the mode of probably Kapil Dev or Ramanath Prabhakar that we had earlier. But then, unfortunately, because of his injury, he hasn't been bowling much. The fact that he's not even bowling about 4 overs in the IPL. So I think that's a big blow for India. So we're really missing a good all-rounder. So that's something which balances the bowling and also the batting part. So now Virat has a job in hand, management also, to whether to go in with just 4 bowlers. Do they take that chance? So for fast bowler, but then what happens is if there is a partnership and if the taking those 10 wickets is delayed, so there's a lot of you sort of tire them out. If they survive about 90-100 overs, you're talking about 25 overs each. Let's put it this way. And if you want to get them out again in the second innings, so it's going to take its toll, and that's where the injury part and other things come in. And Ishant, we all know that he's not young anymore. He's almost 33 now. So I think you need to be very careful in how he sort of uses them. So that's something that Virat will need to work. But then yes, not much of choice in between. Shubman Gill was a good prospect, but I thought that for me, from a coach perspective, I thought Shubman Gill is rightly to be brought in at number 3. So I always thought that, moving ball, always have a little problem as an opener. Of course, he's young, he's been working on it. But that's why whatever test matches that he has played, he hasn't really got 100 so far. He gets those brilliant 30, 40s and 50s. But then I think personally the ideal spot for him is number 3. But unfortunately, he's not going to be there in this series. But more or less, the batsman, it's all very clear. There's not much of a choice that you can pick up from.
So let's move on and talk about England and England's 11. I mean, this is still a young 11, but yes, Ben Stokes has pulled off from this series. But Bhaskar sir, who are your game changers from England side? Who could potentially be?
I think we all know how good a player Joe Root is. Definitely, he'll be the mainstay for the English batsman. I'm more worried about Anderson, to be honest. For me, he could be the game changer. If we are able to tackle Anderson with the new ball, with the old ball, I think then we probably be able to post a big score on, so then put pressure on the English batsman. I think if we are, that's where the role of the openers becomes very, very important. All these years, the previous years, we had Sehwag with us. He would destroy and would demoralize the bowlers in a manner that the others would go there and get big runs. So but then that's where Rohit's role becomes very important here. Rohit, we all know, is a good stroke player. If he survives for the first initial half an hour, 40 minutes, we can expect big runs. And he did well against New Zealand. He got set, and then he threw his wicket away. But then here also, very important that the openers do well for India. There's going to be create a base for a launching pad, to be honest. So that's where Virat and others. Otherwise there'll be, if you lose quick wickets earlier, then the middle order is going to be under pressure. There'll be a lot of pressure from Virat also trying to prove himself. So I think Anderson, definitely for me, would be the game changer.
And Vijay sir, for you, this question: who are your game changers from Indian side? I mean, we have talked about Rishabh Pant, we have talked about each particular player, but as a general thing, if you can club them together and say.
I want Virat Kohli to make runs, because if he makes runs, obviously you will be in the driver's seat, because he'll make your runs very quickly. He will dominate the bowling, and when he dominates, he makes it easy for the others also. And like Bhaskar said, Rishabh Pant can be the X factor. You will need Pujara also. You need him very badly, because you can't have wickets falling at both ends. Pujara, if he's there, at least he'll ensure that one end is blocked. So, to me, these are the crucial factors. If Ashwin gets to play, Bhaskar, he'll be under pressure to perform overseas, because it's always said that Ashwin is only good at home. But he will have to deliver, take on the role as an all-rounder, because I see him coming at number 7. He lends a lot of balance. He can bat and he can bowl. I don't know where Jadeja, if you can fit him in. So to me, key factor will always be Virat Kohli.
And Maite, how about Shardul Thakur? Do you see him come back into the 11? I mean, he didn't play the World Test Championship 11, the World Test Championship final. So do you see Shardul Thakur, because we went in the WTC final with 2 spinners, Jadeja was expected to perform. Yes, we can't say that Jadeja didn't perform well. It's just a matter of 2 innings and 1 test match. So do you think Shardul Thakur will get to play?
I don't think we have any place for him, because if you see, without Shardul Thakur also, India has lot of options. India has Umesh Yadav, Mohammad Shami, Bumrah, and then spinners we have Exar Patel, Ashwin, then Jadeja. So it's so many options are there, and in those options, Shardul Thakur coming into play, I feel I can't see it happening in the near future, unless I feel if India wins the first 2 matches, and if India wins, and suppose in the 5th game it is just a simple game. If India has already won the series, they can try experiments or put Shardul Thakur like that. But if it's a series decider or something like that, then I feel it will be really tough for him to play. And in the first match, I don't see him coming, but as a batsman, I feel he can give those runs, because if our bowlers who are playing do not give runs in the ending, I feel, and if the top order also do not give, I feel he will be there to give. But if you see, I don't see him coming into the 11.
Okay, let's end this England stream. I mean, England and India Test Series stream, and we'll move on and talk about Bhaskar Sir's life. Before we move on, just a quick answer from all of us here. What's your prediction of the score line? Who will win it? I mean, the thing. So let's go with Bhaskar Sir first. What's your score line predictions?
I don't want to predict anything, but as being a patriotic Indian, I would like India to win, to be honest, and re-emerge as the number one Test team in the world.
Vijay sir?
Sorry, you can't really predict in England, that too when you're playing such a tough series. Cricket prediction is bad, but like Bhaskar, yes, I want India to do well, so I'll say 3-1 in favor of India.
By 3, I'll let me come to you now.
Yeah, I would also surely say India because I support India, but I feel against England it's tough. Our predictions may not be right. It may be right. We don't know. But as a fan of India, I'll surely support India.
So for me, I think it's going to be 2-2, one draw Test match, and 2-2. That's the safest option you have to pick. So okay, let's move on and talk about Bhaskar Sir's life. So Bhaskar Sir, you averaged about 53. In a first class career, you played listed career too, but you didn't. For some chance, you didn't. By I don't know why you didn't get into the team India, because we weren't there at that time when you played. So averaging 53, didn't get to play. So it's a bit of unfortunate story, but still it's very good. I mean, batting 53 at a first class career, that's really good, right? So what are your thoughts? I mean, yeah, what do you think? Was there any specific reason?
I think all these years that I've given interviews and this question been asked over and over again.
188 times.
So I think you guys are youngsters, you're only 15, and I'm still, there's a lot for you to see, lot for you to grow and see the world and how it all works, you see. And if you believe in destiny, if you think that something called something, a line out here which says, if you're destined to play and do greater things, nothing can stop you. But with my case, it's always been that I got picked for India twice. Unfortunately, both times, once it got rained off. I was supposed to go at number 3. The 11 was announced. I was told what number I'm batting. This happened in Jammu, and unfortunately, it rained so heavily that we did not even leave our hotel rooms. We were sitting in the bed, switching on the TV. We saw the umpires calling it off. So that was one. The second time that I got picked was for the SARC tournament. It was more of an India 8 kind of a team. The second string, which went to, of course, we had players like Kamli, we had players like Sidhu, and some of the members from the senior team. We went to Dhaka, and somehow I missed out on the first 2 games. But in the third game that I was supposed to play, we had this demolition of the mosque happening, and there was total chaos in the Dhaka stadium, and the whole tournament got cancelled. I think that was the last. I think I was picked. Basically, I was not young anymore. I was still in my late 20s. But then there was a lot of transformation happening in the Indian team. There was a vacuum, and they were trying to fill in those places with all the seniors retiring. People like Venksakas and the Shrikants and the Ravi Shastris all retiring. And so this was a golden opportunity for me. The board also had said, let's try him and see, is he equipped to play in the higher league? Is he good enough to play in the higher league in front of a capacity crowd? And that's why I was picked. But even there, I think fate or destiny, you can say, went against me, and the whole tournament got cancelled. Fair enough. We came back to India after 3 days. Barely, there were no flights, nothing. But we managed to come back. Half of this team went to Dubai, and from Dubai they took a flight to Bombay, and we came direct from Dhaka to Delhi. This we had a series against England, and we were told that we were supposed to report to Lucknow. The same team has been retained, and we were supposed to report to Lucknow on a particular date. So as I was getting ready and I was about to leave for Lucknow, that morning when I saw the newspaper, there was a caption, there was a headline which said Rahul Dravid replaces Bhaskar Pillai for that 3-day match against England. Now that was something which hit me so badly. So that was a sign for me that, okay, hold on, that's it, your career. And I announced my retirement at the age of 29. So which I thought was too early. That very season I started playing for Ranji Trophy, and then I said, okay, enough. Now that I'm not, even people have decided that he's not going to make it to there. That was the only goal that I had. I was surviving only because of that. But then once this happened, so I said, that's it. So I turned pro. I went to Bangladesh for 2 seasons to play. I started going to England after that. I started playing in the Calcutta League and making money or earning money, if I could put it in a professional manner, was all the goal that I had. And that's my career. So that's what happened. So people end up playing till 40, and I did play at the age of 40. I was playing in England. But yes, people in Ranji Trophy also go on to play. Batsmen can survive for 37, 38 years. But then I decided to quit in 29. That's what happened.
Chiru, let me tell you, I tried my best to stop him from announcing his retirement, and then when he did not, I ended up drafting his retirement letter. So that was, having known him for so long, it really pained me to write to draft his retirement letter. So that was an unfortunate part of my cricketing writing and his Bhasi's cricketing career. And also there was a stage where he hit a double 100, and one of the selectors came and told him, oh, double 100 a lot of people make, you have to get a triple 100. As if triple 100 you just go and buy from the market. It doesn't happen like that. So that was my what I wanted to add. Yeah, Maitreyi, you can ask.
Yes, sir. Even I thought to ask about that double 100. So talk about that innings, how special it was, and how much hard work it took for you to make the double 100. And after that, what were the reactions of all the people there? Different reactions would have come, I'm sure. So talk about that full incident.
This was, first of all, getting 100 or getting any kind of runs against Bombay was considered to be the ultimate, right? Because people performing against Bombay, in Bombay, and people appreciating, especially the Bombay teammates, if they appreciate your innings, that's something which you can be proud of, to be honest. So basically, it was like a criteria for getting into the Indian team, right? So that's how you were judged by the so-called pundits, all the top Bombay ex-cricketers who come and watch. And when they start talking about you, that's the ultimatum, right? So that means you've done something really good. So your probably road to reach the national team is almost 99%. You covered it. This happened. This was a semi-final game, and this happened against Bombay, and we were some sort of trouble. We were some 60 odd for 4, and that's when Abhi Kurvela was creating havoc, to be honest. And I decided, if I just plod and start defending him, this guy is going to eat me up. So I counter-attacked him. I started playing my shots, and somehow Bombay, because of the bounce, if you happen to play in Wankhede, there's so much of bounce there, and if you're able to time it, and if you're you can play your strokes. You can really play your strokes because the bounce is very true. And I went after Abhi, and I succeeded. And that's how when I went. All I remember in that inning is that when I got out after the double 100, when I came back, all I heard was somebody calling me from behind. And I turned back and I saw Dilip Vengsaka walking all the way from the slips to shake hands with me. Now that was something, that gave me a kind of a kick that, hold on, if this legend is, appreciating my innings, so maybe, Bombay guys are going to talk about me, and I have a chance. But unfortunately, the very next day, what Vijay bhai had just said about somebody asking me to get a 300, as I was trying to go into field, don't want to name him. He happened to be a big guy. I'll tell you where he belonged. He was from Rajasthan. He was a chairman selection committee and whatnot. He's been a very important person in BCCI too. So he called me and he said, "Basi, I want to have a word with you." So I was literally I had just worn one of my shoes, and the others with my socks I ran towards him because he was such an important guy. So he put his arms around me and took me inside to the playing area, playing pitch. And he said, "Oh, KP, I know you've been getting hundreds and 200s, blah, 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 blah. But what I want from you is a 300. So I asked him, I said, "Sir, is that the criteria for me to get into the Indian team? As chairman selection committee, you're asking me to get a 300 and that's how I'm going to get into the Indian team." He said, No, I didn't mean that. What I'm saying is, you should not throw your wicket away. And I said, "Sir, that's a great advice. I'll keep that in mind." And that's what it is. So that opportunity never came. So maybe, I failed if I could say that I didn't get a 300. So that's what happened. So that 100 definitely gave me a lot of satisfaction because it was against Bombay. And unfortunately, it wasn't good enough.
And Chiru, since you haven't watched Bhaskar play, let me quickly tell you that he was a very stylish batsman, and he could actually bat at any position because he was so good, and he was an absolutely brilliant fielder. And for Delhi, especially when people would back away, he was always willing to chip in and stand at closing positions. And against some of the bowlers who never liked catches being dropped off their bowling, so he was always as they say, the Bali ka Bakra. Nobody would turn up, and he would be standing at silly point and short leg and whatnot, slips, and also he was a brilliant fielder in the outfield. So, I mean, it's your misfortune you haven't watched him. I mean, he was a complete cricketer. He didn't bowl, but yeah, Chiru.
Which eventually I did. Sorry. Which I eventually did. Talking about bowling, I did, and when I was playing my English, I had a stint with the English counties there. So so I used to bowl there as well.
Right.
If I could remember Sunny Bhai writing an article, I think you can find out.
Oh yes.
One of those. If you remember, when he asked me that the bowlers are the ones who have been batting, so why not ask Bhasi to start bowling off spinners so that we all know how good a batsman he is. So he would do a great job for India. You remember that article?
Absolutely. He wrote quite a few times. Yeah. Chiru, Mr. Gavaskar wrote for him a couple of times very forcefully. So that, I think, establishes the fact that Bhaskar was actually very, very unlucky not to have played here.
So Bhaskar sir, currently what do you do? I mean, are you a coach or
I am. I had this coaching stint, almost 15-20 years now. I've been part of the NCA. I was also appointed by the BCCI as me and Lalchan Rajput were appointed as the consultants for the BCCI run the Specialized Batting Academy in Bombay, which is based in Bombay. 2 years stint was lovely, and I'm very fortunate that out of this present Indian team, there are 8-9 of those boys who have gone through those camps that where I was assigned either in the NCA, ZCA, or the Specialized Academy. So I can say that the company that I used to work for, the bit of steel in everybody's sales steel in everybody's life. So I always say there's a bit of Bhasi's coaching in everybody's game. So I can be very proud of that. I have been involved with state coaching. 2007 was the first year when I started coaching Rajasthan, and I was very fortunate to have worked with Greg Chappell and his Fraser guy, who were the Indian coach.
Fraser.
They were brought into Rajasthan Cricket Academy. And the greatest compliment that I can ever get, to be honest, which much later years, when I'll tell you that instant, but let me finish with what happened there. Mr. Lalit Modi wanted Greg Chappell and Fraser to come and assist the Rajasthan team. So I said, I have no issue. It's a great honor to learn from the great legend Greg Chappell, and I thought one of the most knowledgeable, coach or a cricketer that you can, if you have a chat with him, you'll understand how deep he talks about. So, we worked for 3 days. On the 4th day, he went to Lalit Modi, and he said, Lalit, I don't need to be there. Your team is in the right hands. So it was one of the biggest compliment that somebody could give me. I still cherish that. And then much later, say about a year ago, Irfan Pathan was opening up academies. It's called CAP. It's called CAP Academy, Cricket Academy of Pathan. It's called. So they had assigned Greg Chappell's company to do a bit of study and how to go about it. Right? And believe me, one fine morning, Kiran More called me up and he said, Bazi, it's like this. You have been recommended by Greg Chappell. So, and I was taken aback. I said, why? It's the only 4 days or 5 days of, knowing him in Rajasthan. But then he remembered everything. He remembered my style, my way of functioning, my coaching, this thing. And he said, I want him to be heading the CAP Academy. So we had a few meetings. I was trying to figure out how to go about it. Something he had lined up was to open one in Delhi. He had an option, also planning to open up one in Nepal. But he wanted to make this CAP Academy all over India. So he wanted me to be the head of the whole academy thing. Unfortunately, that very year, I was asked to coach Delhi. So then that is where, after all those initial meetings, I said, I'm so sorry. I can't be really giving my time because I can't be there on both, on both sides. So since I've taken over Delhi and this happens to be, a major breakthrough for me. So I was concentrating wholly on the Delhi cricket. So that's what it is. That's all my coaching career goes. It's been great to work with some of the senior cricketers, ex-cricketers, especially in NCA. I worked with Lokapally, Prasanna, and so many other cricketers, Balwinder Singh Sandhu, and there's so much to learn from them. As I say, education is an ocean, is it right? You're never complete. You can always, pick up some point or the other, even with the under 15 boys or the under 17 boys. So it's been a great journey. Still learning, and I have a great advisor like you have, Vijay. Time to time, he comes out with, there's so much of discussion that we have. When our phone calls go, it goes on for hours and hours, and there's so much to learn from him and part some of the knowledge to him. I think it's a wonderful journey so far. And this year I've been asked. Sorry. And I was about to say that you're right. I've been asked to coach Goa this year. So let's hope I can help them out. Though I know, like Tripura, when I was with them, the pool was very limited, and so is Goa. It'll be nice. I'm looking forward to it this season, and it's a new challenge for me. And I've been eagerly awaited there. That's what they are saying. So let's hope I can help them out.
So Maitreya, Chiru and Akash, once the season begins, we can invade Goa and enjoy the hospitality of Bhaskar.
Yeah, that would be nice. But now I think I've been told I'm supposed to visit them and sign the dotted line. Because of the rains, I believe the camp is scheduled to be in Pondicherry.
Oh.
So I'll be leaving for Pondicherry very soon.
Okay.
Before that, there's a visit to Goa also. And then they'll leave for Pondicherry, and then I think the season begins.
So Vijay sir, you can ask your question if you have anything.
No, I have asked him 10,000 questions all his life. So I'm very happy that we have had him on this show, and he readily agreed. He's not that he's not a busy man. He is a busy man, but he spared us time, and he was very happy, especially when I told him the hosts are not are teenagers. So that's the best part of it. I think I'll put a vote of thanks to Maitreya, Akash, Chiru, and especially you to Bhasi for having come on this show. And we are very, very proud to feature you. And I hope you enjoyed the experience.
I did. It was great talking to you guys. It was nice to remember your past too, isn't it? Sometimes,
Yes.
when people recognize you and appreciate what you've done, it's like a feather in your cap. You feel proud of those moments that you've either achieved or spent, or it's nice. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people tend to forget you. People have a short memory.
Yes.
You need to. so it's nice. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me over. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.